In the 90s, Playmates Toys made the deepest line of Star Trek action figures in history. My name's Keith, and I'm a collector working towards owning all 284. I've been a Trek fan for almost 35 years, and most people are sick of me talking about it. But somehow I've convinced my old friend Mike to review them with me on Look at My Star Trek Toys! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys, a little YouTube show where I'm Keith, and I show my buddy Mike my Playmates 4.5-inch action figures. Very excited. This week, we're going back to my actual collection. We've done a bunch of customs recently, which are exhilarating and fun, but I still got some back there. What are you doing? Stay on your side.
I was a little fresh there. I'm trying to open the window.
Well, we are, so I'm back on the bookshelf. We've got some really interesting Klingons. Playmates made a ton of Klingon action figures, and so we are going to continue down the Klingon road. And at the end, Michael, we have a surprise for you.
Ooh, I like a surprise. Keith, I have a surprise for you.
Oh, do tell.
Well, it just so happens, so spoiler alert to the internet family, I am COVID Mike. After 2.5 years, I finally I'm having my turn in the hot seat. And
it's cute. It's your first time.
I know. Thanks to science, I'm only slightly effed up. Wish I could be like those cool folks with the asymptomatic case. Not so much. I got the symptoms. However, it has allowed me to take a lot of naps. And today, Keith, I was taking a nap, and what was on but a rerun of TNG? And guess what I got to learn and see today? Apropos to our episode today, I saw, now I don't want to be too graphic on the internet here, I saw Worf hand sexing a lovely young half-human, half-Klingon lady.
Oh, no kidding!
Yeah, it was, they were in a calisthenic holodeck make-out scene, and then he beat her away, but he started barking some marriage Klingon, but she didn't quite accept. So anyway, I mean, I know you've spoiler alerted a potential wedding in the future. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's what I saw the beginning flourishes of.
Well, boy, it's certainly the beginning of something, and perhaps we might be meeting her today.
Ooh, today?
Today.
That's insanity.
We might actually meet her. So stay tuned.
Weird. Isn't that weird?
It is a little weird.
That happened to be the episode that was on BBC America today.
Well, there it is. I mean, Mike is the only person in my entire universe who watches live TV because he doesn't want to miss the commercials. Apparently. So, as Mike so we stopped the cropping ourselves so we can blend over a little bit. So, but Mike, you didn't see it. Here's what you just did. You just
coughed directly on you.
You just COVID coughed directly onto me.
Well, you know what? Luckily, the droplets don't upload.
Yeah, happily. Well, we just talked about commercials a little bit, and we have to do our own, and that is we have to talk a little bit about our Patreon. So if you are enjoying what we're doing and you want to see a little bit more, we've got this show, we've got our Deep Space Nine show, we've got our Out of Practice about David E. Kelly's The Practice show, as long as some really cool bonus stuff. You can join and get some cool stuff at patreon.com/K&M. And Mike, should we talk about the people who have already joined, including Mike,
Alan Zimmerman, Jorge Navoa, Cloud Lover 69, Brian Kaufman, the few, the proud, the patrons. Get your name on this list. We thank each and every one of them for their continued support in all of our endeavors. We hope to grow this little family here. And one of the fun things you get to do is watch me watch television by myself. And Lord knows, that's awesome.
But luckily, he doesn't do it with the commercials. So you don't have to watch, Mike watch a Tide commercial, even though that is what he is apt to do.
Might be a more popular channel if that's what we did, but
I don't know. We'll see. Well, anyway, I think we should dive in to some of our incredible Klingons in our Klingon parade, starting with figure 6945 Gowron in ritual Klingon robes.
Ooh, look at that robe.
Yes, so I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, we already have a Gowron, right? It was in the series 1 of TNG, but that's not enough. Because they had an opportunity, because they made these robes for the Worf figure in his Klingon ritual robes. They're like, hey, what if we did a slight repaint, threw some robes on, and sold you another Gowron, basically off the same mold?
Yeah, you're tweaking me out because his arm is rotated in like a dislocated portion thing here. It's bothering me a little bit, but...
Look, Klingons have a lot of extra joints, extra bones. They have redundant organs. He can do it. Yeah, it's true. That does look a little unsettling. Look, he's been in battle.
That's true.
Right.
Remind me who Gowron is?
He is the head of the Klingon Empire. He's one of the heads of the Klingon Empire in our story here.
Okay.
And he plays a major role on The Next Generation. He did 5 episodes.
Didn't we meet him in DS9 already, early on?
No, we have not met him on Deep Space Nine yet, but he will end up doing 8 episodes of Deep Space Nine, played, of course, by Robert O'Reilly, who I met once at a Star Trek convention.
Ooh.
In Vermont in 1991.
Wow.
Talk about an obscure Star Trek convention, but there it was. Yeah, so the figure itself, if we hop over perhaps to ToyCam, we can disrobe him, so to speak, and see that it is basically a repaint of the model. I should have gotten my Gowron out to show you, but he's wearing Worf's sash here, which is odd. You know what, Mike? Talk for a second. Let me go grab the original Gowron. Let's go side by side.
Hi guys. I don't have the cutting insight to add much to this, but I will say that one thing I can definitely say I think is missing is clearly if he's the head of the Klingon Empire and he's got all of those medals and such in the screenshot there, it'd be cool to see that denoted in some sort of fashion here on the figure, but obviously that would have to be a paint job and that adds cost to the mold and such, so maybe it wasn't a possibility, but that is an omission I see already here off the bat.
Okay, so here's some interesting stuff about this figure. This is not a remold of the original Gowron figure. It's actually a reuse of the Worf figure, which is why he has Worf's baldric, but not... That's really interesting. So they reused this body. Like, basically, they did a head swap. Otherwise, it's identical, and did a repaint of the robe here, and swapped out the original Gowron head that you see here. That's interesting. I don't know why. I mean, I guess probably because it'd be like, I just paid another $10 just to get this robe. But if you're gonna just do a repaint.
Well, if they were, I was saying to the friends, Keith, while you were away, if they were just going to do a repaint, they could have maybe added some of those buttons and battalion flare. Yes.
Yes. You must have X amount of pieces of flare to be the.
Well, especially if you're the commander, right? You would think you'd
head of the Klingon High Council. But you know what? You say that, right? Go back to Toy Camp, because if you look, here we go. Which direction? They actually painted the flare on. They were going to model it into the new robe, but they did paint it in. Ooh, look at that face.
That head sculpt is nasty.
It is intense. Well, I mean, and the thing about Gowron is and Robert O'Reilly's eyes. You know, the crazy eye pop. So they had to make his eyes enormous. Ooh,
He's got my
cool.
eyebrows, Keith.
He does. And my receding hairline. It's perfect. It's...
we asked for our own figures, and it looks like they already did it for us.
Oh, boy. Just you wait, kids. Just you wait. Yeah, so there we are. There is Gowron in robes. I don't mind having another Gowron. I think from Playmate's point of view, it's like we could just add another line, add another figure to the line for $10 of head swapping and repaint. Must have been very cheap to adapt. But like, sure, why not? The Klingons look really cool on the shelf, right? You have a whole mess of them. They're very aggressive looking, and they can reuse because the Klingons had a sort of a static battle armor. Just keep swapping out heads and going nuts. So I think we should move on to our aforementioned girlfriend of Worf, who you saw
you know
them.
what? Before we do that, let me go ahead and show you the box. I had forgotten.
Oh, the box, of course, the box. Yeah, and with his choking hazards, at least the color of the choking hazard matches the base, the Klingon base, which looks really cool. I mean, their Klingon insignia is really good graphic design.
Speaking
I like
of choking hazards, and the aforementioned episode that we're about to jump into, when they were doing their like sort of battle sequence in the holodeck, I thought it was, sometimes I make fun of these choking hazard, but they does translate. Like the Klingon weapons they use to fight the bad guys, the comically badly costumed bad guys in that sequence, are pretty funny looking. Like there's a big like battle glove that's pretty intense that they put on.
Right, season 2. Yep.
Yeah, it's really kind of ridiculous, and it matches the choking hazard.
And of course, the big batlith you see there, which is one of Worf's favorites, if not the mechlith, he enjoys the batlith, which you're going to see a lot of coming up on Deep Space Nine over the years. So that is going to be fun. Thank you for reminding me about the box. I was just too darn excited to talk about Ambassador Kaylor in our next figure number 6059. Here she is with her very own figure.
And that's
of course,
her in her athletic uniform.
That was in her. She wore several different pretty cool uniforms on that episode and on the series. Cool. But this one really translates well to an action figure. It just looks cool, right?
Mm-hmm. I'd venture to say that the figure might actually be cooler than the actual costuming.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to tell because, of all the color correction that happens. I definitely like the Klingon red more than it's sort of like a pinkish, purpley thing in the screenshot there, but that could very well be the lighting and lots of other things. So Ambassador Kaylor is played by Susie Plaxon, who is a Star Trek legend, of course. She also played Dr. Salar on Next Generation episode The Schizoid Man. I didn't have that written down. I just knew that. What's wrong with me? And she also played the female Q on Star Trek Voyager. So definitely a Star Trek veteran at this point.
Oh, interesting. So am I to infer, Keith, that this as a love interest for Worf, that she's not used that much in that character? Because otherwise, why would you have her recast in other roles?
Well, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, right? Because there are some here. I will say that if you're a good Star Trek actor, they're going to use you as much as possible. So, you have the Von Armstrongs and and of course. Some of the absolute legends out there. So I think if you're you're sort of inferring something there, and I sort of get it, but I want to talk about it. But I will say there are consequences for what you witnessed on that episode.
Well, is that the other episode that I've seen with the whiny son?
The whiny son, perhaps, is a consequence
through your hand?
Of the little hanky pank. What they fade to black.
Oh,
Trust me, the Klingons get into more shit.
Her hand was bleeding. It was like intense. I didn't know.
Well, that's how Klingons do it.
That's what I was saying.
Klingon sex is very violent. There's one episode where they say if you break your clavicle on your wedding night, it's good luck.
Oh, jeez. I broke my clavicle once before. It sucks.
Well, I don't really want to know about that. I mean, I love you and your wife, but I don't need to know all that details.
I was playing wiffle ball, Keith.
Sure, wiffle ball. So here's another cool thing about this figure. If you hop over to Toy Cam, you see at her feet she's wearing the face mask helmet that she's wearing when she shows up in her torpedo at the beginning of that episode, which is now frozen. And look at the whitest hand in human history, frozen on screen for your viewing pleasure. Yeah, so there it is. She's got the cool face mask helmet. Come on, focus. There we go. Up. All right, here we go. Dimensions. I can do it.
That is cool.
Yeah, right? And I certainly am curious to the folks out there. For your figure here, do you display it with the helmet on or off?
Because go off. Helmet off.
Helmet off, but it's pretty cool. So I've sort of done it both ways. Here's the other thing about this head sculpt. Why does it have the Gowron's back? You see those ridiculous like giant eyelashes? What is that about? Like who decided like, oh yeah, let's put those crazy eyelashes on her?
Well, what I do think this sculpt captures somewhat, and I thought was interesting in the episode as well, is that she's half human, so it's not, you don't get the full head. What's the
full
word?
Klingon?
Yeah, there's a bit of a grotesqueness to the Klingon head skeleton. So I'm glad they let her keep a little bit of a softness, the human softness.
Yes, well, I mean, hey, look, Susie Plaxton was a fan favorite in many of her incarnations. For me, Dr. Solar, definitely the prettiest. So anyway, yeah, so it's a fun character.
Well, I like Dr. Solar for just her intelligence, Keith. So I mean, I'm sad that it was all physical for you. Hashtag cancel Keith.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because like it was also a little racist. Because what I'm saying there is, I think Vulcans are hotter than Klingons. I'm toast. I'm toast.
So that's a hot topic. Okay, let's move forward.
Let us quickly move forward to our next figure. Can you tell we're both sick? Figure 65123. Let's take a look at Kang.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, indeed. So this is from a really fun Deep Space Nine episode entitled Blood Oath.
That's a badass character.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to tell you too much about it because we're not there yet in the Deep Space Nine series. But I will say,
do we have a box for? Sorry, we're really bad today. Do we have a box for this one?
A Kaler box? There should be.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. You know what? I even have that on my shelf. I could have gotten it, but I didn't. But you can actually see the spike hand there in the accessories and the choking hazards, which are silver. Always, the silver choking hazards look much better than like the weird purple ones. So note to Playmates from 30 years ago. So back to Kang here, and I'm going to we're going to look at Kang's box, I swear. So in this episode, we have Kang come back, and of course it's played by Michael Ansara. But it's not just this character from this one episode of Deep Space Nine, because this character, played by this actor, appeared on the original series back in the 60s. And so in the little box there, you can see what he looked like back on the original series before they redesigned the Klingons for the motion picture. So basically, they just darkened their skin and gave them giant eyebrows, and that's what a Klingon was in 1960s television with 1960s budgets.
I think he looks badass in the 60s version, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, in a still like that, it's a little less problematic than when you really see it. But you'll notice in that picture, right, the baldric that he's wearing looks like Worf's season 1 baldric, as opposed to what they ended up doing later. And that is because in season 1 of Next Gen, they were reusing one of the baldrics, I believe, from the original series before it was stolen and replaced. Here's the thing that always messes with my head, right, Mike? The time when I was watching this for the first time in the 90s, the 60s felt like it might as well have been 1700. It felt so cosmically far away. And thank you for sneezing on that side and on the other side. It felt like an immeasurable distance between the 60s and the 90s. And then I think about it now, when we're watching Picard or whatever, the Picard show is every bit as long ago from Next Gen as Deep Space Nine was from the original series. So it blew my mind that an actor from that series would still be alive, let alone still acting. And of course, it didn't make any sense because they're still making the movies with the original cast. But it really did. It I don't know, the concepts of time. I don't know. It's more of like an esoteric question. But any thoughts
when you
here?
were watching the TV back then, you didn't ever think you would be old, but here we are. We're old.
Yeah, boy, that's true. And also, so if this episode aired in what, 95, I was only 15. So, that 30 years was twice my lifespan at that point. Not anymore.
Is it me or does old Kang in the screenshot kind of look like he's in a production of Cats?
He does look like he's in a production of Cats. This was not the figure that I would have done. There's a trio of returning Klingons in this episode, and I thought Kang was the most boring one.
I will say that the actual figure is cool as hell.
Yeah, it's cool. You can see that if you go to the box, I remembered, we're looking at the box, you can see it's a Warp Factor series. And so these were the ones where they started having them kick their legs out, and they had these weird, wide artificial stances, which, again, I wasn't a fan of because it looked weird on the shelf. It was not consistent with the previous lines, but they were going like action, action. So it's sort of an interesting choice in a lot of those ways. And yeah, he does look like he's in a production of Cats. But if you look at the choking hazards, they're silver. That looks so much better than Kaler's batleth, which was that red. So that actually looks like it could have been something really done. Okay, so there we are. We have ridden the Kang train. Let us go to our next figure, and that is figure 16020, Captain Kurn. So, Mike, continuing our sort of spoiler situations, did you know that Kurn is Worf's brother?
I did not know that.
Yes, so we see Kurn on The Next Generation in 3 episodes of The Next Generation, 1 episode of Deep Space Nine, which this figure is from the Deep Space Nine episode Sons of Mogh. Played by the legendary, speaking of Star Trek actors who keep recurring, Tony Todd, who is a incredibly underrated, fantastic actor, who I am a huge fan of for lots of different reasons. But he was Candyman.
Oh,
remember the horror series from the 90s? So he was great in that. He also played Kurn. He was in the Night of the Living Dead remake, the one in color. And with another Star Trek actress, interestingly, as I try to fix my toy cam on the fly while I talk. But for me, it was also he played an old Jake Sisko in the episode of Deep Space Nine, The Visitor, which I think is one of my top 5 favorite episodes of not just Deep Space Nine, but of Star Trek, period. And I thought he gave an astoundingly good performance. And he's, Tony Todd is this huge, imposing, scary guy in most of the characters that he plays, but he plays this Jake with his incredible vulnerability. Also met him at a Star Trek convention, and he was a very nice guy. It's
interesting they don't show more chest boof for the Klingons. But, I guess Khan was like, yo, check out these rippling chest skeletons.
Yeah, that was weird, because I don't remember that from the episode. It's possible that was either an early costume design or it wasn't lit well enough to see it in standard definition. But I didn't get huge Wrath of Khan vibes from him there, but I certainly do on the figure. And you can sort of see the extra skeletal structure of the Klingons. They have super ribcage or whatever, because they're always getting stabbed and so forth. So, interesting story about Tony Todd. When I met him, I was a child. I was probably 12, and I was wearing a Clinton Gore sticker or button, because it was in the 92 election. I'm that kid. I'm 100% that kid. And he signed my picture, and he said, "Watch the ticket," because we talked politics for a hot second on my autographed picture of Tony Todd. So I have it somewhere. I didn't find it for the episode, but anyway, cool guy. So that was my exposure to Kurn and Tony Todd. All right, Mike, are you ready for your surprise?
I never know how to answer that question, but let's say yes.
You're always yes. So a couple of episodes ago, I think it was the last time we had a Klingon episode, which is why this is so appropriate. You were talking about the spiky boots.
Yep.
That the Klingons wore, and you asked for a foot shiv.
I recall. Yeah.
You asked for a foot shiv, and so I got a letter. I got a handwritten letter.
Wow.
About this.
Okay.
From our good friend JD from JD's Customs.
Gotta love that
Check
guy.
out his
what a cool guy.
Check out his YouTube series. I'll link it below, and all of his social media stuff.
He's if he wasn't busy enough, he takes the time to manifest my ridiculous. You think Worf is violent in the holodeck? My imagination just.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So
what did he do?
Here's what I'm just gonna read you what JD wrote. He has like adult handwriting. I write like I have some sort of deficiency. It's very good handwriting. He says, "Keith, when Mike said they should make Worf really badass, my mind didn't think foot shiv. No, because that's stupid. He didn't say that's me. I thought of the scene at the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
which I love,
Secret of the Ooze, where Shredder takes the mutagen and becomes Super Shredder.
Yeah.
So here I present where my imagination went to with Mega Warrior Worf. Show the last figure. Oh, that's not it. No. Oh, crap. I skipped one.
Wow.
That was terrible. I did that whole setup.
Ever beef it? Oh. Oh.
Guys, this is episode 54 of this show. We just passed our 1-year anniversary of doing this show.
See, back in the old days, I had to edit that out and cut it correctly, but it's too good. We got to keep it.
Come on, you're on the right. Okay, fine.
Well, spoiler.
I hate myself so. Great.
Oh, that was hysterical. I was like, oh, really? It's just Worf as a pirate? I mean, no shade, JB, but...
Oh my God! All right, let's get through Worf on a ship. The figure 6931 from the Generations line from the movie is Worf. In the beginning of the movie, they decide to promote Worf in the weirdest possible way by being on a giant ship and tossing people into the what do you? Oh, I see what you got problems.
Yeah.
So it's not a figure that I particularly like. I mean, it represents the scene fine.
Does he have the
although
hat?
his not in my copy of it. I don't. We'll go back to the box. See if it came with a hat.
Well, the box is all screwed up. But...
No, I don't think he had a hat.
No hat. Well, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, so okay, fine. But this was the Generations line. It had no articulation. It was from a scene that I wasn't a huge fan of. Everybody in the cast was wearing these uniforms, these old-timey things, but they only made a figure of one. And I know there's some custom people out there who have made the whole line in these outfits. That would have been cooler, right? But just a standalone Worf wearing this, I was like, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
But
well, you have it. You've got it at least.
But I've got it. It's important for it. All right. So, can we toss to what we're all here for? Ladies and gentlemen, for real.
Oh, boy.
Not toy cam.
Okay, here it is. JD.
Ladies
Mega
and gentlemen,
Super
Mega Warrior Worf. Get excited for real this time.
Oh crap!
Look at that. Okay, so in order to explain all the things that he did, it's a beautiful repaint, right? But all of those extra spikes,
so many shivs.
JD made 1,000 shivs. He's those spikes on the heel, the spikes on the shoulders and on the wrists. Those are all JD's creations.
That's
seamlessly
awesome. Look, he's got a double foot shiv.
Figure.
You see that? So he can give you the reverse shiv.
He's got a double foot shiv.
And that one's sharp.
Yeah. And the shoulders and go to Toy Cam because I just really want to.
Wait, so he sent you the actual figure?
Yeah, I got it right here.
That's awesome.
So I just like to point out,
Keith, I guess nobody's been sharing my address. I mean, I'm the brain trust behind a lot of this.
Brain trust, foot shiv. Right. But I just like to point out how seamless.
Yeah, that's cool.
The additions, and you've got him on the knee, you've got him the side of the knee,
nice,
on the back of the foot, on the wrist here,
tri-wrist shiv,
tri-wrist shiv or quad wrist shiv. You've got him on the shoulders there, as well as a beautiful repaint. I mean,
listen,
it's seamless.
JD and Keith, as much as I love and we've touted the quality of your work, in this particular case, I'm really only interested in the quantity of the work. So, Keith, please, can I have a grand total of shivs on this Worf?
Okay. And he also incorporated the back armor from Gorwon in order to do this. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so he built this on the Gorwon figure.
Oh, that's rad.
Not on a Worf figure. All right, so let us count the shivs, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so counting each individual spike, we have 4 on the shoulder. Okay. We have 8 on the arms. Right, so that's 12 plus 2, 14, 16. There are 18 shivs on Super Mega Worf. Come on. How freaking cool is that?
I gotta say, that's the best. That's the coolest Klingon in the Klingon parade for sure.
By a million %.
So, and Playmates, toy companies at large. You can see it right here. We've prototyped it for you. The more dangerous, the more shivs, the better the toy.
Yes, absolutely. And of course here I have a picture of a Super Shredder.
It doesn't need to ship with any choking hazards. The figure itself is all the hazard you need.
Yeah, well, it's going to be hard to swallow. And did you know, Mike, as also a wrestling person, that the guy who played Super Shredder?
Yes. Crap. I used to know this trivia fact, and I've forgotten. What was his gimmick?
Well, he was an original member of the NWO.
Really? Who is it?
It's Kevin Nash. It's on the screen in front of you.
Is it Kevin Nash?
It's Kevin Nash played Super Shredder.
Wow. Okay.
in Secret of the Ooze. So,
Speaking
anyway.
of racism,
yeah, right. Yeah. So, anyway, JD, astoundingly cool work you've done here. So much better than Mike's silly idea deserves.
it's much better than
Profoundly
this
so.
crap too. Oh no, this one.
Yeah. I mean,
Stick
it's
some spikes on him.
it's anyway. It's very. I don't mean to make light, JD. I really appreciate.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Both the generosity and the artistry.
You're gonna
of
have to
this.
stop encouraging me.
Well, that is really true. Like it's if you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna keep coming up with stupid ideas. But we're gonna refresh your.
But I see
your
that rear
supplies.
foot shift. Let's be clear. That is for me. That rear foot shift right there. That is for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can do some real damage with that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he shouldn't
That's,
go for a jog. Worf definitely doesn't want to jog here. No high knees.
No, indeed. Don't go to a dance call and be me.
No.
That would be bad news. All right, folks. So that is our Klingon. More Klingons. Klingons 2. Klingon Parade 2. I don't remember what I call these things. Mike, how did you feel about the Klingons today?
I mean, what else can I say? We got a super custom, which was awesome, which was a surprise. And we got some decent Klingons. I would say that I've still yet to see any of the Klingons we've seen with a better facial sculpt than that 6-inch Worf. I think that's still the best we've seen.
Yeah. Well, they had more room.
But, the costuming is cool, and the Klingon sort of fashion is so kind of bizarre, and I think grotesque was the word I used before, and I like that. I like that classification. I don't mean it in the sort of scary way, but more in sort of a gothic horror, oversized and gargoyle.
Well, and it's also it's military battle armor.
Yeah.
It's old school battle armor.
Yeah, I don't know how functional it is, but
well, probably not so much against a phaser, but they like to fight with swords.
Yeah.
So think more medieval there. So anyway, if you enjoyed our little show on Klingons, you can do us a favor and join our Patreon at patreon.com/K&M and join the fantastic folks who have already hopped in so early. Anyway, if you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us at lookatmystartrektoys@gmail.com. We're also at Star Trek Toys on Instagram. Till then, we will see you with another episode of Look at My Star Trek Toys!